So you've seen how the attack offense works on the fast break. And you've seen how the attack offense flows seamlessly into the half court. And you've seen how the attack offense works on our special teams, otherwise known as our inbounds plays. So can the attack offense work against any zone defense? Of course it can. And the secret to our success, in my opinion, is the fact that our attack offense is the same versus man or zone. Doesn't matter what kind of defense we're facing, we're running the same offense against any kind of defense we're facing. And in the time that we ran it at the college level, our points per possession, you know I'm big on points per possession and measuring your efficiency. Our points per possession against zone defenses was actually higher than it was against man defenses. So it means we're doing something right with our zone offense. So some of the advantages that are built into that: number one, it's consistent. It saves us practice time. We don't have to specifically practice for anybody. We just keep practicing our offense, and then whatever defense we face, we're able to attack that defense. Number two, it's flexible. Any player, any look, any player positioning. We don't care where you line up. We don't even care like if it's a 3-2 defense and we go 5 out. If it's a 1-3-1 defense and we go 1-3-1 against it. We don't worry about any of that kind of stuff. We don't worry if we have shooters inside and post players outside. We don't worry about any of that stuff. We just play our attack offense the way we play it. And number three, it's unpredictable. There's no patterns. It's not scoutable. I've actually heard about some players that played for other teams that would tell their coaches would be like, oh, they're going to do this every time. And the players were like, no, coach, they're not going to do that every time. They're playing off of us. And the players were right. We were playing off of them. We weren't doing anything predictable. We weren't doing anything in a pattern. It was, we were playing our game based on the reads of the defense. So let's talk about some of the teaching points of the attack offense against zone defense. The first thing that we want to do is we want to get the ball inside the triangle. The triangle goes from the top of the key through the elbows, through the short corners. And the reason why I utilize the triangle rather than paint touches is because short corners are still a weakness of a lot of defenses, whether it's zone or man. So I want us to think we want to get inside that triangle all the time on offense, playing inside out offense, attack inside out through the triangle. And if we just say paint touch, a lot of times players don't realize like short corner is a good place to attack too. So that's why we utilize the triangle, and we talk about always attacking the triangle, getting the ball inside the triangle, especially against the zone. And I would even put it on scouting reports. We have to get the ball inside the triangle first and not just settle for 3-pointers on the outside.
Dribbles to our left. Pass over to McFadden. Nice pass to Thomas. Back over to Jackson. 1-2 punch. Beautiful ball movement.
The second teaching point is we want to attack gaps. And the way that we attack gaps, we can attack gaps a lot of different ways. So let's say ball comes here. I don't really care how we line up. Ball comes here and there's a gap there. We want to attack that gap and force 2-on-1s against our offense so we can get 2-on-1s against them on the backside. So we would skip it right here. We have a 2-on-1 against this player on the backside. So we want to attack gaps to force the 2-on-1s defensively. Or the 1-on-2s defensively. So we can get 2-on-1s against them on the backside. We can do that through ball screening. If we ball screen, we get the same kind of work here, where now the 2-on-1 is here. So we throw it, we attack that 2-on-1 that way. Or we could do it with things like away screens, even like a flare screen. We flare screen this up. Now this player jumps this, we got this pass for a shot. The player gets caught, we got this pass for a shot. And again, we would have a 2-on-1 even on this side. Here we're going to get an off-ball screen and away screen. Again, it's going to create a 2-on-1. The defender chooses wrong, leaves a wide open shot. Here we're going to use cutters to attack gaps. Cutter goes through, another cutter comes in, pops out. We're going to have multiple cutters here attacking gaps, and I really like this passing angle downhill to the corner. So everything we do, we're attacking gaps with cuts or screens or drives, and that's the goal. A coach with a Hall of Fame coach that actually called their zone offense gaps. So that's kind of where the idea comes from, is in a zone, we want to always be attacking gaps. And this is one of the reasons why I think attacking gaps, the attack offense against a zone where we attack the gaps, I think is so important, because a lot of times you don't get a lot of good movement against the zone. Well, if we're playing our regular offense, we're still going to get good movement. So when we throw it, we're still cutting through like we would against the man defense. So our offense is always moving by us attacking gaps, just like we would any other defense. So that's why I think one of the biggest keys to our offense and why it works so well against the zone is we're still creating that movement. And when teams zone you, a lot of times they're hoping you just kind of stand in spots rather than continuing to move like you would against their man defense. The third teaching point is we want to utilize ball fakes, and this is an old school teaching, still relevant in today's game, is utilize ball fakes against the zone, because the zone is going to react really quick to a pass fake or a ball fake. So this player pass fakes this way, you'll see the zone start to shift right now, which could create a gap right away when we throw it the other way, just by simply ball faking one way and throwing it the other way. Watch how this ball fake shifts the zone, and they actually lose track of the player, and he gets it right back in the post for an easy and one. Shot fake is no different than a pass fake. Utilize a shot fake, creates that little closeout, and now we get inside the zone, and we have advantages inside the zone, because now we're making them rotate or shift however they're going to shift, and that's what we want to do. So we utilize a ball fake to get inside a gap. The fourth teaching point is you want to bounce past the ball inside the zone. So when you're throwing the ball inside the zone, most of the time it's going to be a bounce pass, because what our zone defense is taught to do, hands up, right? So when they come out, we're looking to bounce past it here inside the zone. Outside the zone or around the zone, no. But inside the zone, a lot of times it's going to be a fake one to make one on a bounce pass to get it inside that zone. And the fifth teaching point actually is a teaching point against zone shooting. Coached against somebody that zoned us up. Good friends. So we're talking after the game. I couldn't believe that their zone had beat us. We were always a really good shooting team. I couldn't understand why we couldn't shoot the ball well against them. And because we're friends, he may have given me too much information. And he said, think about it. A lot of players don't practice zone type shooting. And I said, what do you mean by that? And what he meant by that was when a ball's here and this player comes up and the pass goes sideways, so you catch it sideways and then shoot it, a lot of players don't practice that. Think about it. You're working on a dish or a gun, or even if you have a rebounder, everything comes inside out. That's why inside out offense is so good, but everything comes inside out. How many players actually practice catching that pass sideways and then shooting their shot? Not many. And that's why when you practice for zones, when you go to play against zones, you should do what I call zone shooting, where you actually have players passing the ball on the perimeter to each other. So they're catching that, what I would call a sideways pass, and then shooting from there.
Thomas tosses up to Rudolph, who does a nice pass over to Kai. Kai for three. Her three is good for Roxy Kai here on her senior night. Thomas passes over to Cummings. Cummings over to Kai. Kai for another three. This three is also good for her. Back-to-back threes for Roxy Kai.
Now, one of the old school teachings you might have heard is go even versus odd, or odd versus even. That's your front of your offense versus the front of their defense. Now, don't you think the zone defense is like the predictability of knowing how you'll match up versus their zone? Yes, they want you to be predictable. They want you to be scoutable. They want it to be easy to prepare for you. So, of course, that's what a zone defense wants from you. I ran my last year coaching at the college level. We ran exclusively a zone in the half court. We would press and then back into a 2-3 zone, and we went 23-6, finished 5th in the nation. It was points per possession wise the best defense that I've ever had. And rarely did we work on defense in practice, because I already knew what you were going to run offensively against our defense. Everyone does the same things, right? Well, Not in the attack offense, we don't. We can come at you with any look or any player position. We don't care if you're in a 1-3-1, a 2-3, a 3-2. Doesn't matter what zone you run. We're still going to run our attack offense. And maybe we match up against you. Maybe it's a 5-out versus a 3-2. Maybe it's a 1-3-1 versus a 1-3-1. Maybe it's a 2-1-2 versus a 2-3. We don't really care. We're going to play our offense regardless. And we know that the defense has to rotate anyway. So we're gonna transform or misshape the defense with our attack offense. Here against the 3-2, we come out in a 5-out look. Simple cut from the point guard. On drive action, we find her as the hammer for a layup. Watch on this one as we basically line up in a 2-1-2 versus a 2-1-2 or a 2-3, so we're evenly matched up. It doesn't matter. We still stick with our actions, drive action to a post entry for a layup. And on this one against the 1-3-1, we go from a 5-out look to a 3-out look, which basically matches us up against the defense. Does it matter? Nope. We're still going to run our offense. And that could mean players playing in different spots. There's times that we'll put a scorer inside a zone. There's times we'll put a post player inside a zone. There's times where we won't have anybody inside a zone, depending on how the zone's playing, how the zone's rotating. And because our attack offense can mold it can mold into anything, we can play this any way that we want to play it. So basically, when they're zoning, instead of them controlling how things are going to go, we actually control it with our attack offense. In this first one, we have a wing, one of the best drivers in the conference at the high post, not obviously where they normally play, but because they're there, they can put pressure on the defense, causing the 2-on-1s, giving us an open shot. This next one, our stretch 4 is actually at the high post. They'll kick out. They lose track of them. 3-pointer. On this third one, our point guard is actually inside at the high post. So you can see it really doesn't matter. We're just moving and creating offense. On this one, because of the scouting report, instead of putting our point guard at the top of our offense, we put our tallest guard, who was also a shooter, at the top so they could see everything against this zone defense. Worked out pretty well. I think we had like a 30-point win in this. Another old school teaching you might have heard is passing versus the zone is better than dribbling versus the zone. But isn't it the idea of the zone defense to protect the lane and keep you on the perimeter? Yes, that's exactly what they want. They want you to stay on the perimeter and just keep jacking threes, being happy with threes. Because if you get hot early and then you start settling for them, at some point the game's going to change. You may get hot and think, oh man, this is going to be great. We're going to kill this team because we're making threes all the time. At some point, that's not going to happen. So the question is, how are you getting inside that zone? Old school mentality is we pass the ball real fast on the perimeter. Guess what happens when you continue to pass the ball real fast on the perimeter? Nothing. You just keep going sideways. You don't actually attack the triangle at any time. So you want to actually attack the triangle, and one of the best ways to do it, and I think Bobby Knight's the one who said it, but you attack the zone off the dribble. So watch how many times we attack the triangle. There's one causing a 1-on-2. We attack the triangle a second time, drawing 2 more defenders. We're going to attack the triangle a third time, drawing 2 more defenders till we finally get our wide open shot in the corner. And I saved the best for last because the best way to beat a zone is simply don't let it get set in the first place. Be so fast that they can't even set their zone defense. So now I'm going to give you some plays. I'm not a huge play guy, but against the zone, I went to a clinic one time, and Bobby Huggins did a great job, and I think he learned most of these plays from his dad. So these plays have been passed down for a while. He said you got to distort a zone, right? So this play is called 3 players in a row. Pretty simple why it's called 3. If you know me, if you watch these videos, you know I try to keep things as simple as possible. So 3, and I learned this lesson. This has to be a shooter on the backside. We're going to run the play this way, but this has to be a shooter on the backside. Otherwise, the whole zone is going to overload. And because if you don't have anybody that can score on this side, they don't have to even pay attention to them. I found that out the hard way as a high school coach. I couldn't figure out why we couldn't score, and it was because the whole defense was shifted over. So I made sure I put a shooter here, because if they're going to leave them open, then we'll just shoot that 3 all day. So first things first, pops out, and the post player who's in the middle seals that defender on the inside. All right, you don't want them to screen. You actually want them to seal up, because you might throw them the ball, and if you don't throw them the ball, you want them occupying the center. And here's why. When the ball goes here, zone shifts, right? And if you seal this middle person, you've actually left a gap in here. So the point guard goes through, and we're looking for that, because the point guard could be untouched and get an easy shot a lot of times. And the other thing that can happen is if this seal works right away, we could throw the ball right down on the post and let the post go one-on-one. And if you've seen the other videos, you know I'm a big fan of letting posts do their work and go one-on-one. And then obviously if they don't cover one of the shooters popping out, we're shooting the basketball. This is a simple play that we called stack 2. Again, it goes back to what Bobby Huggins said, distorting the defense. We call it stack 2. Obviously, I'm a simple coach, so there's 2 on each block. So there's the stack of 2. Bring it. Once we start dribbling this way, the bottom offensive player runs to the corner, and guess what that does? This pulls this defender out, and this defender comes over. So now what's happened is occupied here, and these 2 actually turn into a double screen on the inside defender, and then this second offensive player comes across wide open for a bucket. As you can see, overloading the zone, distorting the zone, that's what you want to do to a zone. That's why these types of plays work. And I didn't give this in the out of bounds video, but I will give this in the zone video. A zone baseline out of bounds, specifically for zone baseline out of bounds. Balls here, we've talked about if we got a read right now for a shot, we're going to take that pre-snap read, obviously. Let's say they take it away. This player comes across, and they want to occupy this player, right? Okay, this is our safety. We talk about having a safety in every out-of-bounds play. And now this player, once this goes across, this player worries so much about that person that the backside is open for a layup. And if you watched our out of bounds video, you know if our play doesn't actually get us a bucket, our players still know how to make plays to get buckets. Hopefully, maybe you get a bucket or 2 out of that zone out of bounds play. Hopefully you like what you saw here. Hopefully you get to steal something for your own zone offense. As you can see, the attack offense, whether it's man or zone, whether it's full court or half court, the attack offense works against everything. So hopefully in these videos you've been able to see something or steal something that helps your offense become better, especially from a points per possession standpoint, since that's obviously what's the most important thing. And hopefully your offense gets more efficient based on some of the things that you've seen here. So if you like what you saw, give us a like or a thumbs up. Subscribe to us. I'm going to keep doing some videos. I'm going to start, actually, we had 9 presses when I was a college coach. I'm going to start going through those presses. The first one, I think, got like 200,000 views because we do our 2-2-1 a little bit differently than everybody else. So I'm going to show the 2-2-1 first. But hopefully you got something out of these attack offense videos. And if I can help you in any way, please feel free to reach out. I love helping young new coaches get better. And I love helping older coaches like myself maybe see something a different way. So until I start putting out those attack pressing videos, Keep attacking.